time it is when you hear that sound. It's time for a brand new episode of Bid Nerds, your daily nerd on the most interesting car of the day from all the auction sites. My name is John Polnik. I'm recording this show from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas, along with my partner Michael Deeb in his studio in San Francisco, wearing his Carbone hat. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? Hey, buddy. Look at us.
Let's make a show.
Yeah.
About the most interesting car.
When we started off the show, one of our first regular listeners, one of the original members of the Nerd Herd, is a guy named Chachi Ramirez, who is married to my wife's best friend. He and his wife and their daughter live in Nipomo on the Central Coast, which is kind of just inland from the sand dunes where Rod Emery takes his family out and they go do all that camping and desert, the jumping over the sand dunes and stuff. Nipomo's just inland from there. It's kind of a cool little area. So I was talking to Chachi recently, and I invited him to come up for Luftgekühlt. I said, we're going to go on a professor run, and we're going to have an open house, and have him over to the house for dinner, and meet all you guys and stuff. Because he does like you. He's a producer. He's made movies and commercials, and he's a working producer like yourself. I think you guys have a lot in common. He is restoring a couple of 260Zs, but he asked if he could come up in his 300ZX turbo. And I said, of course you could. He goes, the guys won't give me a bad time. I said, not at all. So I picked today's car as a little tribute to Chachi. So hopefully he's watching, and give him a quick shout out. Hopefully see him in a couple of weeks for Luftgekühlt weekend and see his 300ZX turbo. But John, I don't think we've covered one of these cars in over a year. So here we are. I'm excited about today.
I'm looking forward to meeting him and seeing his car. All right, let's get to it. What is the most interesting car of the day? We're going to make a prediction about this car, what will happen with this car's auction. So stick around to the end. You can play along by putting your prediction in the comments below and see if you're better at this than we are. Shout out to our good friends at Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic, the first classic partner in North America. They are the place to go if you are looking for a classic Porsche or parts or service for a classic Porsche. Check out Godden Classic. All right, Michael Deeb, take it away.
All right, so what we do on this show is we cover the most interesting car that we have selected for you on all the popular auction sites, and then we are going to predict. Today's candidate is this 1984 Nissan 300ZX Turbo 50th anniversary with a 5-speed manual that is listed on Bring a Trailer out of South Huntington, New York, and showing just 19,000 miles. JP, my first question to you before I give you a lot of the details on the car is, do you remember the 50th anniversary? They only came in this silver and black with the gold trim and those turbine wheels. Do you remember this car? Because I kind of do.
I totally remember this car because it was one of the first cars that I was able as a teenager to convince a used car salesperson to let me take on a test drive by myself.
Yes.
And like an idiot, they said yes. And I slid this car around a corner and both wheels slid off the road and hit a curb. And I swear to God, that car came so close to tipping over because I came around, it went pink and went up and then back down. And I drove it back to the dealership, and it was, I totally screwed something up. Gave the keys back. Thanks. I'll talk to my mom. Bye, and got the hell out of there in my Scirocco as quickly as possible. And they weren't able to find me apparently. Yeah. So sorry to crappy used car lot guy on Highway 99 back in 1990. Sorry about that. Anyways, I do remember this car.
in Snohomish? Is that in Snohomish?
It was in Seattle. It was in Shoreline, which is kind of like, every city has that strip, that boulevard where all the crappy used car dealers are at. That's where that's Shoreline is where all those dealers were on Highway 99.
Gotcha. Yeah, El Camino Real in San Mateo County is ours. It stretches all the way down to San Jose. It's all used car potlots like this. This car looks to be in spectacular, almost hermetically sealed condition, John. Barely a little bit of patina on some of the wheels, but the paint and interior look really good. Let me read you some of the details and jog your memory. 3-liter V6. I think it's one of the first years that the turbocharger was involved on this car, because I think when they first came out, they were just normally aspirated. With the turbo, they only make 200 horsepower, but almost respectable 227 pound-foot of torque. It is a 5-speed manual. I do think an automatic was available. This car had electronically adjustable shocks, so you could press a button and stiffen up the suspension, which I think was pretty high tech for the time. I think these cars all came with a glass T-top. Might have been an option, but I think they all came that way. This is one of the first cars to have a digital readout on the dashboard. If you can remember, this car didn't have analog gauges. It's it's like the old pixelated digital readout. And John, do you remember that those big, heavily bolstered leather seats with the embossed 50th anniversary? There are speakers in the headrest of the seats. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the goods. I think they only came in silver and black, and I think they made like 4,300ZXs for the U.S. market that year. I couldn't get a number on how many of them were 50th anniversaries, but they did sell a lot of them. I was never a fan of this car. I always thought the 240Z was a prettier car than this. Somehow, as this car evolved, and that they did give it like a cool integrated chin spoiler, and the car got more aerodynamic and wider, I just didn't think the car looked prettier. I always thought I'd rather have a 240 than a 300. And even today, I stand by that. The car that came after this, I'm a huge fan of. I know you were a huge fan of that car, but I think you have more love for this generation than I do. So I'll give it back to you. What do you think of this example? What do you think of the car? I know you drove it and slid one, but did you ever like one? Did you ever own one? What do you think, John?
Yeah, I've never owned one. I've spent time in them. I actually, no, I take it back. I did. I owned an 89. I forgot about that car. This one, I can just smell it. It has that Datsun kind of cheap smell to it.
Oh, yeah.
The last couple of years of these, the 87, 8, and 9 version, they really cleaned it up. This design tend to have that kind of 80s tacked on feel where all the body stuff and different colors and weird. I mean, it's just the thing that you got to love about this car now, looking at this particular one, is that it just screams 80s. Whereas the last couple of years of this body style was kind of ahead of its time. It rounded off the bumpers, like you were saying. It was kind of like the 964 did to the G-Body 911. The Dot 2 version of this was just a prettier version.
There you go.
But, I don't know. These are terribly fun to drive. It's a manual rear-wheel drive 2-seater car of the era. They felt heavy and everything like that, but yeah, loved them. The thing I gotta love is that it's a T-top, man. I mean,
of course,
there was a thing for my Washington friends that grew up as Gen Zers. There's a thing called Apple Blossom by Lake Chelan. You had to go east of the mountains every spring break. That's where all the kids would go. In Washington State, and back then everyone would cruise the boulevard in what was it, Yakima, and that's where I learned that, oh man, convertibles get chicks, man. Girls will hop into your car and then sit on the back when you cruised. I was like, oh, this is a way to cheat the system. Okay, I like cabs now. That was that's part of the lesson that people don't quite realize. Girls could give an F about your hardtop car because it's hard to get in and out of it, and it's hard to show off in a hardtop car. But anyways, whole other story. We haven't seen these appreciate very well. We haven't seen. I keep waiting for it to happen because they're great cars. They're really fun.
Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, we covered a black next generation ZX or Z car, but it was a non-turbo. Do you remember that black car? It was here in the Bay Area. I whatever this thing sells for, I would rather have that car without the turbo than this car with the special edition and the turbo and all the digital whatever. This car does nothing for me, but I thought we should cover it. And yet Chachi's got one, and he's going to bring it up, and I'm going to.
Have you ever driven one?
Because it's no, not at all.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem. I think you got to get behind the wheel when you find you probably really like it, because they are. I mean, look, they are all the things that we talk about, reasons why we like cars.
I look at this car, and when I look at it, I think of this car as being an extra on the RoboCop movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it looked like it's trying too hard to be futuristic. And John, I wanted to just put
I,
this in
I
your
I
crawl space.
watched RoboCop last night. Actually,
Did you really?
I came home and my wife had it on. I'm like this. It's like we don't have normal TV. Anything that's on the
Yes.
TV, you have to like pick. And I came
Yeah.
home and my wife is sitting on the couch with our new little puppy watching RoboCop. I'm like, that he's too young for this. What are you doing?
Oh my
You're gonna
God,
scare him.
that's really funny.
Get her
Um,
alive. You're coming with me, creep.
in 1984, even though they were starting to bring in the Nissan name, this car is legally a Datsun. Isn't that
I
funny?
love that. That's one of the things I like about it.
Yeah, so it's actually a Datsun Nissan. It's like it's almost like their BMW M kind of thing. It was the
Yep,
Nissan 300ZX Turbo, but this is on the title. It's going to read a Datsun, which I think is
that's
pretty
awesome.
funny. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. So JP, our car is sitting at, I'd say, a respectable $16,000. I should say $15,759. It still has about 4 days to go. JP, that is on just 8 bids. I really have no idea what this car is worth. Um,
How many miles
because
does
it's
this
a
thing have again? I'm sorry.
19,000 miles. It's
Wow.
not even 20,000 miles. It looks to be in really good condition, and it is a special edition. I put $27,000, but I am not feeling that confident about that number. I'm just going to take 3 grand off and come to the shorter side of 25. I'm going to go $24,000 and give it to you and just say that the car looks respectable and it's on the right platform, but I have no idea what these cars are worth. All the money for this thing is supposed to be like close to 40 grand, but I
Says
do
who?
not think, yeah, it says
Where?
Haggerty. I don't see that happening at all. So I'm going to go 24,000 bucks and give it back to you. And I'm not strong on my number at all. I still expect you to come in underneath me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go 22. I'll say it does
Yeah.
break 20 somehow just because the miles are so low. But look, we just
Yeah.
haven't seen these find any money. You would compare this.
Ever.
It makes right ever. This car, it's funny. It's kind of has the same sense of it. It's for the guy that couldn't afford a
Right.
C4 vet at the time.
Right. Yeah.
Which is like really, but it's the better car. I would way rather have this than a C4 vet.
Interesting. Yeah.
We saw just a few weeks ago, like Mark II Volkswagens are finally starting to make their way. We saw
Right.
that low mileage one that wasn't that
Yeah.
low miles. It was 50,000 miles on that. What was
Yeah.
it? A
Brought 80 grand.
92, but
Yeah.
more than $80,000. So this car kind of fits in that same kind of world, right? It was a car
Yeah.
that was unloved, but is kind of good. And should God, you would think this would be a $50,000 car by the same kind of algorithm. You would think the AI would look at that and go, yeah, this is going to be $50,000 too. But this is where like the AI doesn't have it yet. An AI,
Yeah.
how many AI robots still can't tell the difference between a dog and a cat?
I don't know, John. How
This
many?
is the difference
I feel
between a
like
dog and a cat right here.
yeah.
The Golf or the GTI is worth $80,000. This thing I just don't is going to still have a hard time breaking 20,
Yeah.
even though it only has 19,000 miles. I'm with
Yeah.
you. I'd rather have the 90 version. The
Yeah.
300ZX of
I'd
that
rather
era.
have the Mark II GTI, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's an interesting play. Like of the three cars, if the money were the same, I'm definitely
Yeah.
still picking the 300Z, the
Yes.
90 generation,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Of the three cars at the same money, I'm picking this car over the Mark II.
Wow.
Of the Mark II Volkswagen because it's bigger horsepower, rear wheel drive, T-tops. This is the more fun, better car. And I
Yeah.
love Mark IIs. I love Mark II Volkswagens. I'd love to have one, but honestly, this car checks more boxes for me. What about you guys? What do you think?
Yeah.
Is this old school 50th anniversary ZX gonna find its happy day even in a terrible economy?
I'll answer for you, John. The entire nerd herd is with me. They would take the Mark II GTI over this car all day long. Now, the other 300Z,
Probably.
the 90, that makes a tough play. Even just the normally aspirated one, I might plump for that car. But man, the Mark II GTI over this car all day.
Yeah, you haven't even driven one of these though. So what do
I
you
know.
know? All right, guys, now's the time to put your bid in the comments below. The show isn't over. We just got started. We're going to take a quick break, and we will find out what happened with this 300ZX auction right after this. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy.
1989 linen gray metallic G50 cab.
Is that gonna be for sale?
It is going to be for sale. The car only has 65,000 miles.
Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas.
If you love watching car videos on YouTube, you gotta check out my channel, The Rami Show. Oh, this car! I am driving a 2020 Lamborghini SVJ. This car, watch this. Oh!
All right, do the spit take. Now's the time. All right, guys, welcome back. We are in the future to find out the results of this Datsun auction over there at BAT. Michael Deeb, are you excited about Lift Cult Weekend that's coming up?
Oh my God, dude, I'm so excited. It just seems like every minute we find out somebody else is confirmed and coming to town, and I'm excited that and I was saying this to somebody, John, the other day. I just want to say this to you on air. My entire upbringing with my father here, and my baptism into the car culture and the rally scene and the car concourse and stuff, was all Italian cars, Fiats and Alphas, and we even had a Dino, and we had a fiberglass 308 and a few cool cars. That was it. I always loved Porsches, but my dad wasn't a Porsche guy. I don't know why. I never got to ask him. He was gone before I became a Porsche guy. I come to Las Vegas. I get this incredible position with Godden Classic, and I get to meet you. And, through Cars and Cafe, through Defoscination, through going to California for Monterey Car Week, you taking me to LA and doing Breakfast Club and the Professor runs and up to Newcomb's Ranch and all that, I've become I've really just I found my people, and I'm just totally baptized in the Porsche thing. So now everybody's coming to town for a Porsche event, and I get to host. And for the first time, everybody's coming to my backyard. So I, more than anybody, am super excited that Luft Cult is happening, that it's in the Bay Area, and that all of my friends, a ton of which I met through you, are coming here, and I get to play host. We get to play host, and we get to sort of roll out the red carpet. So, we're going to have everybody over for a dinner on Thursday night. We'll do a professor run on Friday morning, or Friday day. And then Friday evening will be the open house at Rafi's shop. And me, you, Yuri, and Ben, and Naveed, and whoever else, and, Lane, in a lot of ways, we're all just going to host and have everybody come to us. And it should be an absolute blast. And then we'll do Luft Cult at what seems like it'll be a pretty cool backdrop up there in Vallejo. And then we'll see whatever the hell is going to happen on Sunday. I haven't even asked you this. I bought a ticket for Sunday, but then I actually paid for the car display ticket on Sunday as well, because I don't understand if my car is in or not. So I have that ticket in case it's redundant, but whatever. Because it sounded like space was limited, and it sounded like they were going to have us back this next day. So I'm not sure if that's how it works, but I bought the Sunday ticket anyways. Did you?
I bought a Sunday admission pass, but I did not buy the car
display.
Yeah, because I figured I'd probably have to dip out, at some point there, because we got a long drive back to Vegas on Sunday. But it turns out Sunday is Rami's birthday.
Oh, wow.
So now it's like, I don't know, maybe we should stick around one more night rather than drive way to the back. So I don't know. We'll talk to him. But then again, he'll probably take a Chicky 2 up to Sonoma or something like that. Who knows? I don't know. To be continued. But that's going to be a great weekend one way or the other. And I'm sure we'll talk about it more. All right, guys, if you haven't hit the subscribe, like, or notification button, please do so now. And for those of you who are already part of the Nerd Herd and the Nerd Nation, we thank you and love you guys. Thank you so much. And we love reading your comments. Continue to do so. Michael Deeb, what happened with this Datsun over here?
JP, it's been a weird couple of weeks where we keep comparing cars to that 350Z that failed to sell on Marked and then sold on Bring a Trailer for a price that you are so smug and right about, that I still say is a $35,000 car, that 12,000 mile 350Z track car, and it only brought $23,000. Our little 19,000 mile 84 Datsun 300ZX Turbo 50th anniversary car, you and I came in way under on. I said $24,000. I was the high guy. You said 22 grand. Our car sold for $34,000 on 42 bids. So that's a legit number of bids. $34,000 is all the friggin' money. But I immediately kept thinking, well, I'd way rather have that 350Z and pocket the other $11,000. So I posed that question to you as I handed it over to you. This result kind of doesn't make sense, but sort of does. It's low miles, it's collector grade. I just don't think any of those are collector models. Like if you're going to collect something from that era, just get a 240Z that's original. That would be where you'd put your money. I would not want to put $34,000 into this car and think that with all the struggles that the economy is having, that'd be a safe place to put the money. I'd rather have ripped that 350Z for 23 grand and have a better driving car, a better looking car, and a much safer place to hide my money while I go and put a couple thousand miles on a car I enjoy. And then if I need to cash out, I know my money's sitting there. I think this is a fool's errand to pay $34,000 for that car. What do you think, John? Do you agree with me, or are you going to S all over my take and tell me why I'm wrong?
Uh, I said it before the break. This is a classic car. The 350Z track car is not. It's just not yet. It's going to be a while before it's a classic car. This thing is, and the other thing is, you've never driven one of these. You got to get behind the wheel of one of these old Datsun 300ZXs. They really are terribly fun, and this is so Radwood. I mean, we love the DWA guys. How awesome would it be to roll into one of the Radwood events in this car? You are killing it. You are Radwood royalty if you drive up in this. I would rather go to a Radwood in this than any 911. I'll say that to the camera one more time. I would rather drive this Datsun to a Radwood than any 911 that qualifies for Radwood.
Ladies and gentlemen, please dial 911. I think we're having a medical emergency on the show. My friend John is in Las Vegas at the container park, and he needs your help. You're just saying that because it's got T-tops. You are so easy to read. It's unbelievable.
Look at the script on the side of this thing. Look at the two-tone color. Look at the gold-backed turbine wheels. I mean, this is so 80s. This is so 80s. Now, I didn't say that I would rather have this over an 80s 911, but the only 911 that would rival this from a rad point of view would be something you'd have to have a slant nose or a Gimbala or
a 944.
Yeah, I guess. No, I mean, that's a 944 is certainly more similar to this car, but it's not cooler than this car from a Radwood point of view. You see 944s all the time at Radwood, but you never see super clean 300Zs like this one. I don't think it's worth 35 grand or 34 grand or whatever it went for. I'm with you there, but neither is a 350 track edition. So yeah, I don't know. I only love this car because it's a fun car to drive, and it is so darn rad. But I think I would have to pay way less than this car. What do you guys think out there in the comments? Our nerd herd is super strong. We've got Ross Churchhouse, of course, is always out there. Anthony, Michael G, Track Money has been showing up on the regular. I'm just kind of cruising through some of the comments here. I don't remember everybody's names off the top of my head, but thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with the nerd herd and spreading the word. I know you guys are putting it out there that this show is happening on the regular. So continue to do so. That it's more and more fun when the nerd herd gets bigger and there's more comments and there's more counter bids. It's funny how much better at it. I'm looking at these comments. How much better at it than you guys Sorry, I can't even speak. How much better at predicting the prices of these cars you guys are than us. We are not very good at it, so don't listen to us. Yeah. What do you think of that, Michael D?
I think it's right, but I do think they'll agree with me that this car is not worth $34,000 and that this car is not fun to drive. And I would say that almost everybody in the herd would rather have that 350Z track car than this heap of junk. This sticker engineered 300ZX turbo that they had trouble
Not
selling. So
fun to drive.
yeah.
If you went to Radwood in that 350 track car, you're parked in the parking lot. You're not.
Yeah, that's
coming
all
into
right.
The car. Everyone's gonna be like, whatever. Show up to a car show in a 350Z. Everyone's like, whatever. All right, guys. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. We will see you tomorrow on a new edition of Bid Nerd, your daily nerd on the most interesting car of the day from all the auction sites. Bye.
Nerd!
Get those nerds!